And hello, welcome to The Roast, brought to you by Cabin Coffee. I am your host, Joe Grabowski, and I have a special guest today, former Badger, former Packer, my former roommate in college, Bill Ferrario.
How's it going, Joe? Nice
Bill,
to be on.
Welcome to the show.
I'm surprised we didn't lead with roommate.
Just trying to ease into this a little bit.
I feel you.
Bill, tell us a little something about yourself for people who don't know who you are.
Well, you spilled the beans about the roommates in football. Grew up out east in Scranton, Pennsylvania, home of the television show The Office. Got recruited by a couple schools, wasn't the traditional recruiting process, and at the very last second, Wisconsin had a scholarship offer, sent me out on a visit, and the rest was history. Accepted the offer. They were the biggest football school that offered me. Wisconsin beat Penn State my senior year to break a 20-game home win streak at Penn State, which really made me excited because Penn State didn't want me, and that was a top school I wanted to go to. Came out here and sadly enough met you, and now look, we're still side by side. You can't separate us. But came out to Wisconsin, made a lot of great memories, and
Good.
Just enjoying it.
So, obviously, Badger, you were part of the only team in history to go back-to-back Rose Bowls for the Wisconsin Badgers. You did have an opportunity to prolong your career into the NFL. Why don't you give us a little insight about that?
Yeah, it was just a special time in Wisconsin. I think me and you talk about it a lot, as well as our other teammates. We had a great leader in Coach Alvarez who put together a tremendous staff. Coach Alvarez knew what he wanted out of his staff, and his staff knew what he wanted, the way the players that they recruited at the time. Very similar, and I say this with caution, to the military, except for obviously the severity of what they're doing versus what we're doing. But our coaching staff knew we were capable of being torn down and being molded into what they wanted, and they did it to a T. I mean, they broke us down. They built us up into a well-oiled machine, and both you and I are on offense, and we know what Ron Dane in the backfield, you can do just about anything. You got to get a hole about big enough for a mouse, and he'll bust through it and get you a 40 to 60-yard run. So it wasn't difficult having a guy like that in your backfield. We had some tough quarterbacks over the years, and we had a tremendous defense that got us out of a lot of trouble and helped us win a lot of games. So we had like I said, it was just great making memories, and it's nice, the friendships we have now, to be able to look back at those times and let it soak in now, where I think in the moment, once again, the coaches did a good job not letting us get big heads, not letting us get too confident or cocky about what we were doing. And then, I had the opportunity to, I was blessed to be able to go to the Green Bay Packers, just right up the road from Madison up to Green Bay. And that was another slice of history that I just enjoyed, just everything from the locker room to being able to play with future Hall of Famer and Brett Favre, and had him on Green as a running back, and bounced around a little bit after that. Got a chance to meet some great guys, play for some great coaches, and just got a bunch of good stories that we're able to tell now and enjoy and sit back and smile at what we achieved and be proud of our university. And, you and I both agree that we're always hoping for them to do better than what we did and to succeed, and we want them in the playoffs, and we want that championship sooner rather than later. So it's just fun being a fan now and just being a part of that program.
So you were number 60 in college for the Badgers, and then you were number 63 in the NFL. Why don't you tell me about that number 63 and how that came to fruition?
63 was a great story. So I'm on the phone. I went out to Scranton, Pennsylvania, watched the draft with my friends and family. Got drafted by the Packers, got on the phone with Red Battier, the equipment manager, and after they drafted me, of course, and he asks what number I wanted to wear. I first said number 60 because I'd worn that for the previous 4 years in college. And he told me 60 was taken, and Rob Davis, the long snapper, had number 60. And he basically said, and it's sort of an unspoken rule in the NFL, that you pay for jersey numbers. And I said right off the bat, I'm not paying anybody for a jersey number. I wasn't going to give away money. So I said, what other numbers are available in the 60s? And the first number he rattled off was 63. And I grew up a fan of the Green Bay Packers because my dad didn't really know football that well to coach offensive line, so we used to rent VHS tapes of Super Bowl I and Super Bowl II, and that's my dad made me watch the Packer offensive line and how both Fuzzy Thurston and Jerry Kramer, the right guard, how they pulled on the Packer sweep, and that's sort of how I learned how to dip my shoulder, get around the corner on a power or sweep, and I was concerned when the number 63 was offered. First, I thought it would have been retired. When they said it wasn't retired, I said, well, I knew Fuzzy was still alive at the time, and I said, do you think he'll mind? And Red Battier gave me his cell phone number and said, why don't you give him a call and then give us a call back? Literally on draft day, called up Fuzzy Thurston, introduced myself, and asked him if he was okay with me wearing his number, and he gave me the approval. So that was my first very cool introduction into the NFL. Got to become good friends with him throughout the years and hear a lot of that generation's stories of Vince Lombardi, their teammates, their championships, what they dealt with at the time. And that was a totally different situation in the NFL at that time with money. Obviously, those guys built the NFL to what it is today, but they had a drastically lower income at the time. Mm-hmm. So just awesome getting to know that group of players and being in, that additional fraternity. So very exciting.
You mentioned the term fraternity. I think it is such a fraternity. I mean, here we are almost 30 years later. We met in 1996, and we are still hanging out, still enjoy each other's company. We enjoy the reunions. Football it's such a cool community. I don't care if you played Division III. I don't care, what sports you played. Anytime you hear about a college athlete, I played in college, I mean, there's automatically a respect because you understand some of the trials and tribulations and the time and the commitment it was to hone your skills, your craft, in order for you to perform at that level. And again, it's almost 23 years later since I graduated.
Don't do the math. Don't do the math on live.
Yeah, I know.
That's a struggle.
I don't have my calculator out either. But I mean, to this day, I still get fired up over whether we're talking football or talking sports or watching the games this past weekend. I still have that fire that I had when I was 18, 19, and 20 years old.
Absolutely. And I think two comments. The one funny thing is I think in our minds, we're still there. Our bodies are definitely long gone, but in our minds, we know what has to get done and we know how to do it. And I think to touch on that bond, I think a lot of that is like for you and I, like we saw each other get broken down and we saw us not give up and push through to get better. So we know what each other has. And I think that's the common bond amongst all athletes where I meet a lot of guys that I might not know right off the bat, or that person might not know right away that each of us played in college or the NFL. But as soon as that comes out, the conversation changes, the respect level changes because you know what that other person is all about and what they went through and what they dealt with. So that respect is there and that bond is there right away because me and you could both attest for how much fun we had, how many memories we made, how much success we had, all the hard work that went into it, those dog days of summer and just a lot of work, but a lot of smiles now down the road and a lot of enjoyment looking back on that history.
I think it's also kind of crazy, too, because you can go without seeing somebody for 10 years. And the minute you have a reunion or you stumble across somebody in an airport, you pick right back up as to where, like, you were gone for the weekend or you were gone on, like, we went to quite a few bowls. You were gone for winter break. And you come back in and the exact same conversations, although we're a little older, probably a little fatter, more gray. Some of us have hair, some of us don't. But you fall right back into that same routine that you were a part of, like you never left. And I think that's the coolest part about the fraternity of football is it just withstands the test of time when you see people again. It's hard to describe even now. Like, I've been out of college football for, like I said, 20 plus years, and it still comes up. I'm not walking around puffing my chest out like I played for the Badgers. You don't walk around and, with your chest puffed up like I played for the Packers. But when the conversation comes up, I still have that just such a cool flow of memories that flood my brain every time I talk about it.
Absolutely. I mean, the memories are they're just so exciting. And like I said, I mean, we were all those little kids that wanted autographs, that idolized different players, and to be able to say that, like for me throughout my career, when I had kids coming up to me asking for an autograph, that was the epitome right there. It wasn't the money, it wasn't the fame, it wasn't being on TV or doing anything like that. It was just being able to, make somebody's day like that, to be able to be like, I looked up to people like this. Now I'm that person, being able to put a smile on somebody's face. So that is always exciting. But I think too, later on in life, you see a lot of athletes, the success they have in life, and I think they pull a lot of that from the discipline that they learned while being an athlete, while going through their sport. And, yourself, for instance, running a business here, I'm sure a lot of the traits that you have as a leader, that you put down to your employees, were honed as an athlete. Absolutely. So I think a lot of these successful athletes they got their foundation in sports on how to work hard, how to outwork others, how just the very simple not to give up. I think there's a lot of people in life that giving up is the easy way, and athletes know that. I mean, we could have walked off the field anytime. We could have said, we don't want to do this anymore. And we did see some guys that didn't have the strength or willpower to continue and to attempt to succeed. But the ones that stick through and fight through it, they're successful today.
Absolutely. And I've incorporated almost my entire life from the lessons I've learned in football. I wasn't a business owner, but I had to figure it out. And failure wasn't an option, and quitting was 1,000% not an option because, you invest so much of money and resources and time into it. When failure is not an option, I relied on the lessons I learned in football to carry me through those really tough times, because I didn't feel like quitting or failing. Quitting was never, although it was an option, it never entered my mind that was a play that I would ever play. I was so committed and so honed in on that.
Well, and I think because of our goals, I know for myself, I'll speak solely on me, is I did see a lot from the town I grew up in. I did see a lot of people give up on dreams or just not give it their all. Like I was one of those high school guys. I knew I had, we joke about height. Like I knew I had, I probably wasn't as tall as I should have been, wasn't as fast or strong as I could have been, but I wasn't going to stop. I was going to find a way to continue to succeed. And just like you said, like giving up was not an option. In my mind, it was, if I gave up, anybody that was doubting me, they'd be like, oh, I was right. He wasn't going to make it. Sure. And I think a lot of us use that as strength and power to be able to push through different things and use that as a motivator to keep us going forward.
Very true. And I think, because of our relationship when we played football, my big thing is I respected you enough and vice versa. I didn't want to let you down. I didn't want to let the players around me, the five guys that I, bled with, sweat with, suffered through 2 days. Like I was not going to be the guy that where I made you look foolish, or I made myself look foolish, or us look foolish because I did not do my job. I played so much of that, like I have to do my job because I'm not going to lay down. And it was just such a deep rooted commitment,
It was, and we joke about fear and the way we were coached, and at the beginning it probably did start off a lot with fear. But even to your point, it was fear of that happening. We didn't want that to happen, and that's why we dedicated so much more to practice, to working out, to even something as simple as film study, where we learned that on the ropes, where I don't think any of us came in where nowadays film study is a common thing, even at the high school level. For us, maybe you're watching 10 minutes of film a day with your head coach in high school back then. But by the time we got to college, you have to dedicate time to that, let alone being a student athlete, going to school and managing all your responsibilities in your life. But it's that being well-rounded and covering all your bases with preparation.
Well, as much as I love talking about the past with you and talking about football, because that's how I identify even at 46. You got some other stuff coming down the pike here. Why don't we touch on that? What's new in your future, or what do you have coming up here that you want to discuss or talk about?
Well, I think we have a podcast that's out there, and we decided over the last couple of years, we've been talking about it. My dad always said to me, you guys got a lot of good stories. You got to start writing them down, documenting them. And I know for myself, I wanted my kids to have the opportunity to hear all the fun and exciting stories, also the hard work that went into what we did. and just have it out there in the world forever for people to listen to, for my family down the road to listen to. And we both decided to get together and do it. I'll let you share the exciting name that we came up with for the podcast, but yeah, it's out there. We encourage you to go to Cabin Coffee's Facebook or Instagram page. They will keep you updated on when new episodes are dropping. And you want to let everybody know what the name is?
Absolutely. So again, it'll be brought to you by Cabin Coffee. The name of our podcast is going to be 217 South Mills. And people are wondering, oh, that's kind of a weird name. Well, that is the address in the house that we were roommates in. And just had some really great memories of that time and in that space, and thought there'd be nothing better than having that to be the title of our podcast. So, what are we going to be bringing to the table on this podcast?
I think a little bit of everything. I think right off the bat, it's going to be a lot of our past, how we met, what we went through, different years in college. Obviously, the training aspect, the off season, the fun aspect, but we're going to touch on the Rose Bowls. We're going to touch on, for myself, the draft, NFL times, big games, playing at the Horseshoe and being down 19 points at halftime. There's a lot of exciting stories and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we love sharing with each other and just reminiscing about the stories, the halftime speeches we got, or different funny stories about how we got yelled at, or, sort of say with my quotation marks in the air, how we got threatened to do it the right way so somebody doesn't get mad. But just letting those stories out there. And, back to the name of the show, I still love, that was a heck of a house we lived in. I can't believe it's still standing, sort of like we are. Probably bones are a little brittle, but it's still keeping up. So, yeah, I'm excited to share these stories. And, plus we'll talk a little bit about, obviously both of us are dads. We enjoy hunting. We enjoy the outdoors. We're big guys. We're linemen. We've done diets before. We're still trying to get healthy in different aspects of our life. So we're going to be bringing up what's worked for us, what isn't working, what we're doing right now, and just how life's going. And obviously, we'll be talking Badgers, Packers, sports, give some behind the scenes details on the combines, the NFL draft, different categories like that. So we're excited to be sharing these stories, and we hope the listeners enjoy them.
And I think it is important because we played in the time of pre-concussion protocol when we were playing, and the memory's not as sharp as it used to be. I am having a hard time recalling, certain dates and times and experiences, but it always seems like once we get together, either with me or you or a group of our friends, those memories just come back and flow. And at some point in time, we aren't going to remember them. And I think it's super important to get that out there. Like you said, our experience will be out there, and our recollection as our memories fade, this will be out there for our grandkids, great grandkids, just to be able to realize what we went through and what a really cool, special time and space it was at the, for the Rose Bowl at Wisconsin at that time.
Well, I think the listeners will pick up where I'm helping you finish the story or you're helping me finish the story. It'll probably be a tough podcast if we did it alone. And then in the near future, when we have guests on, I think they'll even see more details in those stories because that third person or fourth person will remember something that we don't remember. So, yeah, it's like I said, I'm just excited that it's out there. I'm excited that people are going to be able to listen to it. Looking forward to what questions they might have. And like you said, through the Cabin Coffee page, you can find out anything about our podcast and our social media links. You could email questions to the show, and we're going to try and answer all of them. And, yeah, we're hoping to be telling the audience some exciting stories about our past, and hopefully they enjoy it.
And where can we find all this great new information, Bill?
Well, right now, we encourage people to go to the Cabin Coffee Facebook and Instagram page. They'll have links for the podcast. They'll have links for our social media, and you can connect easily that way. And make sure you stop in and grab a coffee because they got some great coffee over there at the cabin.
I know a guy who knows coffee, so
yeah,
absolutely. So when are you foreseeing the this podcast coming to fruition? What's our goal to have this out and about?
I think by the time you're listening to this, you're going to be able to get to that Cabin Coffee Facebook page or Instagram page and check it out right now. The podcast should be out, and check it out. Give a listen. Drop us an email if you got questions or questions that you want addressed on the show. I think you're going to be able to drop them right away, and hopefully on the next episode or in the near future, we'll be able to answer some of those questions.
That's good. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. I think the driving force here was talking to telling our stories, and my wife and kids or whatever group that we seem to be in front of. They're like, I can't believe that you guys did this. I don't understand. It looks like an amazement almost, and then just our personalities driving in our recollection of the story is it's funny content. Not every story is funny, but like people are looking at me like, why aren't you guys like writing this down? Or why aren't you guys doing a podcast? And we kind of hemmed and hawed about it. And I know you've been kind of looking at this for a while now. And it's one of those things where I think the selling point for me was I get to hang out with you. And we get to do just reminisce and tell stories. And how fun is that?
Well, I enjoy that. I do enjoy your time, but I enjoy the coffee as well. That I get a free coffee every time we do the podcast. And just so all the listeners know, I don't want to be revealing any secrets, but it is moving up the charts. Sugar-free cold pressed turtle. I said that wrong.
Yeah, you did.
Cold pressed sugar-free turtle.
Yes.
That is Bill's drink at the coffee shop. Absolutely. Hands down favorite, and you don't get all the sugar, but you still get the taste.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're wired kind of hot the way it is. We try to reduce your sugar intake. Plus, it's better for your belt line.
Well, I am shy, so I need the coffee to just like liven up a little bit and be able to talk.
And try to pull you out of your shell. But so, on our closing note, what is one thing that you can address or talk to high school kids right now that are looking to possibly go into football? They love football. What is one pearl that you can give them?
I think we talk about this a lot, and I'm adamant about this, that I'm not saying it's going to guarantee a Division I scholarship, but every football team, and I think it's more challenging today for coaches recruiting at the college level, is to get somebody that has that willpower that just doesn't stop, doesn't give up, doesn't stop. We like to refer to it as the Energizer Bunny. I don't know if that bunny still even exists, but the guy that just has the motor that doesn't give up. Doesn't matter if you're 5'2", a coach is going to have a hard time saying no because they want guys like that on their team. You might not be a starter, but any coach looks at the guy that doesn't have that quit or let down in his system, where everybody, even at the Division I level, you and I both know there are tremendous athletes, but there are guys that, whether it's the fourth quarter of a game or whether it's a summer workout, that are going to take off a little bit because they're getting tired or one thing or another. And if you're that guy that doesn't do that, it's going to come up on film. Mm-hmm. Coaches are going to see it. And it's, even throughout my time in the NFL, it wasn't so much the attitude of making the team. The attitude was, I want to make it a tough conversation for those coaches to not keep me on the team. Mm-hmm. I'm going to be that guy that has to, when I was in Green Bay, I was an offensive lineman. I got drafted there to play guard, maybe a little bit of center. But if we're in practice and they need a guy on kickoff for the look team, I'm running out there. I might get laughed at and told, go back to the sidelines, but I'm showing I'm willing to do whatever it takes to make the team better. And that's what, when you're in high school, it's just that kid that does anything that's asked of them, and that motor does not stop. There's so many times. The thing that disappoints me the most with high school sports is going to a game and seeing kids walk before the whistle. Mm-hmm. And me and you both know it's that play until the whistle. Oh. If you're an offensive lineman, pancake your guy, stay on top of them, get up, go downfield, make another block. Mm-hmm. Just constantly being active and seeing kids, start to motor it down or shut it down before the play's over. It's just sad. And if you're a coach, you don't want a guy like that on your team. If you see a guy walk, especially like in the first quarter, when you see guys not playing to the whistle, I mean, that gets me fired up. I mean, I bite my tongue and keep my mouth closed. I'm not one of those guys in the stands because I always hated those people. But it's sad that someone's going to put themselves through all that pain, that hard work, and then not give it their all when it's time to shine. That's what you got to do. So if you're a high school athlete out there listening, or if you're a parent of one, just keep going. Just keep working, keep doing whatever a coach asks of you. Always be there, always be early, and always give it your best.
And I think me and you both know people that had all the tools, that were magnificent athletes and just had the gifts but didn't have the mentality and didn't have the heart and didn't have the toughness to pursue that. And had they had that mindset, they would have been in the NFL and just been rock star athletes.
Yeah. We know guys that probably would have been first rounders, but
absolutely.
That like, although we like to think when we look in the mirror we're chiseled out of stone, we're a little bit out of shape, but some of these guys were chiseled out of stone.
Yep.
They had the body, they had the height, they had the speed, the strength, everything, but yeah, they didn't want it. They were given a gift of size and ability and all that, but whether it wasn't meant to be or for whatever reason they didn't have that love for football, but they were still doing it. You got to love it. I mean, it's a hard, pretty much any sport you play, but football is a sport that you can't not love it and succeed. You go through too many battles that you have to love it. And if you love it, you're going to give it your all.
And then on the reverse side of that, you have the guys that are understaffed like yourself, shorter than most people, but have that certain, that don't quit, that drive, that motor that just never gets tired. And even when they're tired, they don't show it. And they've played so much bigger than they were and went on into the NFL, like the Jimmy Leonards or the Jason Dorings of the world, where you're going undersized. Their whole life told, like, you're too slow, you're too short, you're not strong enough, and they just defy the odds because they refuse to freaking quit.
Absolutely. And I think, like, once again, like you've said, and I say this all the time as well, how football carries over into life. And looking at like what you did with business, you knew, I mean, unless you had a secret you weren't telling me, you knew nothing about coffee or running a coffee shop, but you didn't take that as, I'm not going to do it or I'm going to quit. You just figured out a way. You figure out a way, you keep moving forward, you don't stop. You have your eye on the prize and you set goals and you keep moving forward towards those goals. And just, I think successful athletes and successful individuals have that never going to quit, never going to give up mentality. And like I said, if those are the traits that, although football is a fun sport, although you have that family bond, those are the things that you take away from it, that determination, that work ethic, and allow you to be successful later on in life. And, like we'll be addressing, like just raising kids as well, like how we raise your kids and how we want them to understand work ethic. And, things aren't just given to you in life. You have to work hard for what you want. And I think a lot of that carries over. And that's the one thing I feel we're blessed with all these things, with the family we created through football, with the experiences we had and how it's carried over into our lives. It's been an exciting journey and excited to share it with everybody out there, all the listeners.
Absolutely. So all you high school kids out there, that's the secret. It's not a secret. It's just hard. And it's the extra effort and it's the little things that you do when nobody's looking that carry you through. If you are thinking, I'm not getting enough playing time, blah, 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 no matter whatever your excuse is, it comes down to work. And my dad always says, hard work works. He told me that forever. Hard work works. And he was a model of just putting in the time and grinding. And that was how I modeled my life. It's the grind. It's supposed to suck. And that's just the way it is.
See, it's funny you say that about your dad. My mom, I actually called my mom on my cell phone during a speech I was given once, because it was a school that, similar to what you just said, kids were complaining about playing time, about not starting, about not being at the right position. And I called my mom and put her up to, without giving her a heads up, put the phone up to the microphone and said, what would you do if I complained about playing time or, the coach not putting me in enough? And literally she says on speakerphone into the mic, I would have told you, shut up, work harder. And that's what I think that mentality has to be. Like, that's how we grew up, is we're not going to complain. Our parents are not calling a football coach or a principal or a superintendent or AD or anything like that. It's shut up, get to work harder. If you want something, work harder at life and work for it. That it's the only way to do it. And like you said, there is no secret. That's a secret sauce right there. Just work hard.
All right, so as you can see, this is just a little snippet of what the podcast is going to be about, and looking forward to doing this. I think it's going to be a tremendous opportunity, one, for us to be able to recall some of this stuff, to hang out more, and just bring people the behind-the-scenes stuff that we experience that, people don't really know.
Are we wrapping up here? I thought we were just getting started. I thought that was the intro.
And I understand that, but this is just kind of like a snippet, Bill.
I thought we were doing this all day today.
I planned on it, but we're going to need more coffee.
All right.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
So, anyway, thank you for coming on, Bill. My brother, my roommate, still friends to this day. Soon to be my
Best friends. Could we put the best in front of
you
it?
know, I don't like put labels on things. I prefer just a friend. I mean,
I still want to get the big gaudy chain with like a half a heart, and I'll wear one, and you could wear one.
How about
maybe we wear that in the podcast?
I'm almost thinking the key and the locket. That'd be kind of
I
cool.
like it.
Okay, matching tattoos, huh?
Ooh, that might be something.
On the face.
No, we're not face guys.
Okay, all right.
Plus, I don't want you want to damage this beautiful face.
I was hoping to improve it.
Well, we'll let people judge once they see our podcast live.
We'll see how it goes.
Hey, make sure everybody gets the Cabin Coffee's Facebook or Instagram page to see the latest episodes that are dropping and can connect with us. And if you got questions or ideas or suggestions for the show, feel free to drop us an email.
And Bill, thanks for your time. I appreciate it, brother. Like I said, we're going to be friends for a long time, and I don't foresee this.
Best friends,
Bill. I'll say the word best friends just so you stop. So, all right. Thanks for joining, folks. And this is The Roast, brought to you by Cabin Coffee. Thanks a lot, Bill.
Thank you, Joe.